Hi folks, welcome to a Tuesday practice session. Today was a little more eventful than we planned. With the cold, we actually had a burst pipe, which gave us a little flood, but all that's fixed now. We're filming this a couple hours later than we normally would because we were experiencing the joys of home ownership. But here we are, so let's do some Tai Chi. We're going to work on the hands this week. And so start out with the bear. And while you're doing this, just really try to feel the motion playing out into the hands. Not doing anything in the hands, but letting the hands be completely, the motion in the hands be completely the result of the shifting and turning. We often quote the saying, "It is rooted in the feet, issued through the legs, governed by the waist, and expressed in the hands." And so what that means is what's in the hands is the result of everything else you're doing, rather than having any doing in the hands. So while you're doing the bear here, really look to see if you have any tendency to give it a little bit extra as you're having that full hand come in front of you. If you give it even a touch more, and just let the hands be there, the end of the chain, their motion is the expression of all of the other conditions in the body. And really try to feel your hands. Don't just have a mental image of the hands hanging out there at the end of your arms, but try to inhabit them from the inside. So really feel the palms of the hands, both front side, heart of the palm, and back. And now feel out through each of your fingers. Do them one by one. So feel your thumbs on each hand. Feel your index fingers on each hand. Feel your middle fingers, one on each hand. Ring fingers. And little fingers. Now try to feel all 10 fingers full. There's a lot of space inside them. They're not flat. Okay, take a break. So your hands probably feel different than they did a few minutes ago. And let's do a first third. And the thing to keep coming back to during this first third is actually experiencing your hands. Now, this is an instance of the E, the feeling awareness, the directed attention, not trying to anatomically understand your hands. So while you're doing this, really, really, really experience your hands and notice any place where you put extra tension in it, and try to let that go. But mostly, really, really, really feel your hands. Go ahead. So the hands. A lot of times when we work on the hands, we're doing that in the context of Beautiful Lady's hand, which is a particular shape that you make in the hand. And we often say that's the shape you should have all the way through the form. And what we're doing is we're working with you to help you notice little errors that you make, where, for example, you might droop your hand, so that there isn't a line from running right up the middle of the forearm and going out to the tip of the middle finger. Now there's that line, but the hand is drooping. Or else we look at the hand being cocked or collapsed, We talk about the thumb needing to be in the same plane with the other fingers rather than hanging out in its own plane separate from them. This requires that the palm open up so that you can get the hand actually flat. And so when we're doing that, we're really working on kind of the external postural details. And the hands are great because we make a lot of mistakes with them. Everybody does stuff with their hands. And they're visible. You can look at your hands. It's a lot easier to look at your hands and see if they're doing the right thing than it is to check out your hips and waist. And we have pretty good conscious control over our hands. All of us have trouble finding things, in our legs to be exactly precise, finding things where we twist in the torso. But all of us have pretty good control over our hands. So the hands are a great place to start with actually understanding how your body works and how it feels, and to start making a change in your shape to bring you to the direction you want. So usually when we're working on this, we're talking about beautiful lady's hand, and I'll talk about all the things I just talked about. I'll put my hand up against the wall. We'll do a form wanting you to notice any places where you depart from beautiful lady's hand and come back to it. So we're not going to do that today. So assume that you can do beautiful lady's hand all the way through the form. And if you can't, then you need to work on that. But that's essentially an external set of things you're trying to do to the hand. And like all these things that we say in Tai Chi, where it has to be this way and it's always that way, well, the hand never has any shape other than beautiful lady's hand. The hand never has any shape other than beautiful lady's hand. The hand never has any shape other than beautiful lady's hand. The hand never, wrists never bend. We never depart from beautiful lady's hand, right? So, most of the time we have that shape. And even when we do something like make a fist, you should still have the line running up the middle of the forearm to the middle knuckle. It wouldn't go to the finger because the finger's curved in, rather than having the fist bent one way or the other. So that's just generally true. But the thing that's, I think, once you get through that, the place to work on is, what do the hands really feel like? So the beautiful lady's hand is the result of an internal feeling in the hands, not something that you do. And so I want to do another couple first thirds, and then I'll turn it over to Beth, whose idea this actually was, and who's got some stuff. And so we're going to pay attention to some particular things. So just standing here with your hands, I want you to really feel the hands from the inside. And so the thing is, the hands really aren't very thick, but there's a lot of space inside there. So we can often picture the hands as being flat, right? As if we were cut out from a piece of paper. And so our hands were just the thickness of a piece of paper. But they're not. There's a lot of space inside there. And as you feel your hands, you can start to find that. And then feel your hands all the way out to the fingers, like we were doing in the bear, and feel like each finger has a lot of internal volume. So the fingers are like fat little sausages attached to your palms, not a paper cutout. Paper cutout is flat and has no volume. Fat little sausages have lots of goodies inside them, and that's what's on your palms. So really try to feel the hands as having interior space, as being something that you can fill from the inside. And so we're going to do another first third, and I want you to notice that internal volume, that internal space in each of the hands while we do that. And notice the places where you lose it, where the hands become flat. And that can happen if you kink your wrist, then your awareness will tend to stop at the wrist and the hand will feel flat. Equally, if you droop so there's nothing there, then again you won't get your awareness out to the hands. So really fill them from the inside, feel all the volume inside of the hands, and keep coming back to that while we do this form. So starting out, feeling all the way out, through each of the hands to the tips of each of the fingers. Filling your thumbs, both of them. Filling your index fingers, left and right. From the inside, filling your middle fingers. From the inside, filling and reaching all the way out to the tip of the ring fingers. And the little fingers. 10 plump little sausages attached to your incredibly large palms. Keep that feeling and go. Fill the hands from the inside and feel both of them. Feeling the hands, filling them from the inside. So how was that? Were you able to fill your hands from the inside? One of the things I notice is that I lose it when I reach for something. when I try to get a particular position, and I'm getting that position from the outside because I've learned the postures, and I'm reaching for the place where the hand should be, rather than having the position arise from the conditions on the inside that become manifest with the hands being in the right place. And so when we were just doing that form, one place that happened to me was in cross hands. I come across here, all this is good, and now at this point I'm trying to bring the hands up, and I know that each hand moves up towards its opposite corner rather than the hands just zippering together. And so when I do that, I reach with the hands, and it puts a little tightness and a little tension into the tips of the fingers, and I'm no longer just having that happen because of the conditions that I'm making on the inside. So do that with me a couple times. We'll do push through to cross hands, and just really watch for any tendency to reach for the final posture. So from push, sitting back, hands should still be soft. Turn, feeling the hands move through the air, but no reaching. Dropping, palms up at the bottom, and step. And now cross hands and feel your hands. Again. Go ahead. Once more. Okay, now this time let's do it. When we get to the place where we're going to cross our hands, really feel your hands each going to their opposite corner, and feel what that does inside the hands, that reaching for the place where you want the hands to go. And go ahead. Step. Reach for the corners. Feel your hands. Feel what happened there. Do that again, reaching. Reach. And stop and feel your hands. Right now, I've got fingertips, and then the hands are gone. The hands have gone back to being flat paper cutouts. Okay, one last time, palate cleanser without reaching. Hands are filling. You feel all the way through each of them to the fingertips. Each of them went to its upper corner. And standing up. So the kind of two errors that we make with the hands. Sure, the first error we make is that the hands aren't in the right shape and you break beautiful lady's wrist. But we've been through that. That is not our fate. The next error is that there's too much intention in the hands. You do too much with them. And the flip side of that error is that the hands are dead. It's like your wrists, your awareness only goes up to your wrist, and then you've got these floppy things hanging out at the end of it. This is a common error coming out of the New York school. Because the good thing is people are really trying not to have heavy hands, not to put intention in their hands, but they end up with these bleh things at the end. I do that too. And so the answer to that is to notice when your awareness stops at the ends of your forearm and doesn't make it past the wrist. And then feel all the way through to the hands. E leads the chi. The chi will go if your feeling awareness gets there. And so really feeling all the way out is the way that you get the hands full rather than doing with the hands. So Venlo would say, fingers not like noodles. And then everybody would have these strong, intense hands. And then, people would say, oh God, your hands are so heavy. Lighten up, lighten up. And then you end up with this kind of dead thing here with these floppy hands. And if you ever push hands with somebody like that, they'll be soft, 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 soft. You can't hardly feel them. And then it's time to push and bang! These heavy bricks appear at the ends of their arms that push you. And so we want to avoid both of those. The thing about the heavy bricks is if you pay enough attention, you can notice when they start to mobilize the brick, and that tells you that they're about to hit you with their bricks. And until then, these floppy hands are useless. And so, that really doesn't work. So I want to do one more first third, and I want you to really try to notice the feeling all the way out to the hands, any place where you do, and that takes you away from it, and any place where your hands just kind of go dead, and you're not filling them. So fill all the way. And go ahead. Filling the hands, reaching all the way with your awareness, not letting intention and grasping take over, but really getting all the way to the tips of the fingers. Hands are alive. You fill them completely. You avoid reaching for the positions. And let the position of the hands be the result of the conditions you create inside. So that's a start to really feeling the hands and working with them internally. And here's Beth to do some more.
Okay, so as Lee said, this was kind of my idea the other day when we were practicing. I realized that I was very aware of the backs of my hands. I was feeling the backs of my hands. And after we did that form, I talked to Lee about it. I said, I noticed I was really feeling the backs of my hands. And that's the only place that Professor Tung says you should never feel any tautness across the back of your hands. He doesn't tell you should, anything else. He just says, back here, never have tautness. And so the fact that my attention was there, my awareness was there, seemed like that was wrong. And so once I noticed that in the process of that form, I tried to bring my awareness to the inside of my hands, the palms. And then partway through that, I became aware of the fact that it was sort of stopping at my fingers, and my fingers were a little bit losing the attention and awareness and that feeling all the way out. It's easy to go to the fingertips, but to have it fill the whole palm and fingers out to the fingertips is different than just feeling fingertips and not necessarily feeling what's in between your wrist and your fingertips. And, I got this kind of messed up finger from a little accident I had once when Valerie was a puppy. And then I became aware that I just habitually don't even bother to try to feel that finger because it's kind of perpetually bent. And so then I was really trying to bring the awareness all the way through my messed up finger. And all these things are possible. It's just what you are aware of, or what I was aware of. So then after I said that to Lee, he said, oh yeah, I was noticing things about my hands too. Let's work on hands. And then I was remembering Jane, who would say, oh, I do this about once a year, we work on the hands. She didn't want to work on the hands too much, bring too much attention to it, because everybody sees Tai Chi and they see hands moving, and she didn't want to bring too much to it. But about once a year, she would do all this stuff with us to get us to feel our hands. So I don't know how often we've done it, but here's another chance to look at our hands. So we'll just keep doing what Lee was doing, where we do little first thirds and bring some awareness. So this time, I want you to, as you're feeling your hands, see if you can't have the feeling go through the palm and the fingers and the fingertips, so that everything is involved. And notice when you lose some piece of that. I think the inside of the fingers are easy to lose. You can kind of have palms and then be thinking fingertips and be a little dead in between. So bring some awareness to the whole inside of your hands. Now just standing here, remember what we're doing. I'll try to remind you a little bit. And go. Feeling the whole inside, palm side, the fingers, out to the tips. How was that? Were you able to get that feeling across the inside of your hands? Now, I was remembering that we were told that Professor Chung said that your fingers should have a little bit of space between them as if you were wearing thin gloves. So you can use that as a guideline also. You don't want to be feeling your fingers to the point where they start to splay. That will probably bring tension across the back of your hand. So you want to let the hands be just a little bit of space as if you were wearing thin gloves. And there's a little hand exercise you can do that just gets the feeling into your hands and loosens them up. You can kind of go up with your palms and have them flop toward you, and then you can go down, and you can go all around, and then you can act like you're flicking water off your fingers and just kind of get the hands alive. There's also a hand massage that we were told Professor Chung taught, that you would just basically go up, massaging up the first three fingers and then back down the other two. And we're supposed to do that 49 times on each hand. And, you know, we're not going to do this 49 times, but you can become aware of this little hand massage. It feels nice to just kind of gently bring some feeling. And as you're doing that, you can really feel your whole hand and become intimate with the whole length of your fingers and feeling the whole connection all the way from your arm out to the fingertips and filling everything in between. So there's a couple things you can do to help yourself feel your hands more. So one of the problems that tends to come up for me in trying to do Tai Chi and keep my hands in the beautiful hand position is something like going into ward off, where it's very, very tempting to feel a little bit of the air having resistance and making your hand get cocked a little bit as you're going into it, just a little. But when you do that, and go ahead and do that with me, step into ward off left, say, and just feel the hand going down and how that has a tendency to give a little bit of a tension across the back of your hand. So we know we don't want to do that, but when we're busy doing the form, it can be very easy for just the littlest bit of that to creep in because we're feeling the resistance of the air and all that stuff. And then there's just, as you do it, go ahead and get yourself into the final posture. Let there be a little bit of a kink here and feel what that feels like. Notice that feeling. And now, without necessarily changing hardly anything, bring the feeling to the inside of your hand and see how that changes. That little bit of kink probably will go away then without you having to think about this and that, but just having come through like this and feeling the tension up here, and then you release that tension and feel it here, and it will take that last little bit of the kink out. Now, it's important that your arm have a little bit of that weighted elbow feeling. That's a big part of how you can get what Professor Chung called sitting the wrist, where you're not just out in the hand, but that the alignment of the whole arm is something that gives you the placement to get the hand to soften at the wrist and be able to then feel the inside. We had to go put the bread in the oven. Because of the burst pipes, we had it threw off our whole schedule, and doesn't matter, the bread needs to go in the oven when it needs to go in the oven, so he'll be right back. Anyway, this sensation of letting the hand, the elbow helps you balance the arm so that you're not having to feel like you need to do this because we told you don't let your hand droop and just hang down. And so a little bit of this comes into play. Instead, let it be a little bit of this, that the elbow releases, and then you don't have to get the wrist involved, and you can still feel the palms. Now, doing all this work, like Lee said, your hands get really big. I was thinking of like baseball mitts or something, or just having big mittens on, and just having these very full perceiving hands. So I'm going to do another first third, and I want you to just notice any time that there's any feeling across the wrist, any desire to give it a little bit of this as you're coming down. And it can seem like you're feeling the inside and the air and all that stuff. It can seem really like but then you notice that there's tension across the back of the hand. And so anytime that happens, it's not just enough to let go of the hand. It needs to be something that runs through the whole arm so that it can end up in the correct position without tension and without just kind of drooping because you don't want to do this, so then you just do this, and now it's droopy. If you can get your elbow to wait, it will help you find the place for your hands. So let's do another one, and we're going to just feel the nice big palms that we have. And anytime you feel it in your wrist or the back of your hand, notice the alignment of your whole arm so that it can facilitate releasing that and bringing it back into your hand. So Leah's back from the breadworks, and let's do another one. We're noticing anytime we want to do this and making sure that the arm is in the right position so that the hands can stay soft but still feel under here. Yep. And go. Now, even as they're going to come up and the wrists are going to bend, keep feeling those big baseball mitts of your hands. And as you go into ward off left, watch out for the back of the hand getting engaged. And push, keeping the backs of the hands from getting tense. Now when you let go of the hook, make sure you come back to that feeling of the palm and inside of the fingers. Noticing any tension across the back of your hand. See if you can let it go. So I mentioned push. Push is another one of those places, when you've first learned the form, you probably do something like this where you pull your hands back and then you bring your hands forward. And really good chance that you're going to have this kink in your wrists. And this is a great place to look at what I think Professor Chung meant when he talked about sitting the wrists. So take push. And maybe I'll go this way. And if your elbows aren't weighted quite, my elbows are down, but they're not really, there's a little bit coming out the side here. I have a little bit of a tendency to get the tension across the back of the hand. So really drop the elbows so that the hands are just really hanging, the elbows hanging right from the hands, and the hands are sitting on your elbow, if you will. That feeling of really dropping into the elbow, letting the elbow hang from the fingers, that feeling, I think, is related to what Professor was talking about when he said, sit the wrists. So stand here a moment and notice how open to the world you can be through the inside and the fingers. Feeling out to the tips, feeling the fingers themselves, the palms, and the wrists. The elbows hanging from there. And this kind of gets to that feeling of the big baseball mitt. It gives you kind of bigger hands. Go on and take a break for a minute. But I think it really makes them feel, like Lee was talking about, not having just paper cutout hands. I think once you do that, it really starts to feel bigger. The palms get bigger, everything gets a little more full. And you might be feeling some tingles or warmth or things like that. That's fine. If you're not, that's also fine. We are told don't attach to sensations that you may have, particularly sensations that come and go in your hands. They come and go. It's all okay. But that feeling of really letting the elbows drop can give you a sense of both lightness in the hands and real fullness in the hands. So that's one thing that I've been becoming aware of. Another is what we do the times that we take our hands into a different position. So there's the hook. So we're told that the hook needs to have all the fingers come together and touch the thumb. So you don't want to just pull everything up into a little bunch. And go ahead and do that. Pull it all up into a bunch and see what that does. How does that feel? And now, go ahead, shake it out, get the bunching out, and let the hand just be the wrist at a bend that feels resilient. Kind of, you can do this a little bit and then let it bend. And then just bring everything together. And see if you can feel more. This is a place we can really become deadened to the sensation. And then what happens when we open our hand back up in the form is that it's really easy for it to lose the awareness that we've been working on up until that point. So let's do another first third, and there's a bunch of times that we do this push position. There's push. There's also the brush knees. It's the same deal here. You don't want to end up with the brush knee a little bit like this. Single whip's a little different, but you can still become aware of what's going on in that hand. But in single whip, do become aware for sure of the hook and having it come together in a way that keeps the sensation in your hand. We can talk about the punch too. That's another one that you can lose all sensation, and then once you open it again, it doesn't come back. So both being aware of these times that you're closing them up and bringing awareness back when they open again. And begin. Now think about this position and feeling no tension across the back of your hands. Feeling inside the hook. Feeling when the hook opens. And sitting the wrist as you come into brush knee. Gently squeezing a fist. And feeling sensation across the inside after it opens. Okay, and there's one last little place that I want to bring some awareness, and that's the very, very end of the form. And as we come through here, I think this is a really tempting place for for the hands to get a little bit pulled across the back as you're doing this. So, yeah, as Leah's demonstrating there. That's a really easy place. I'm not quite sure why, but that one I really always have become aware of how much I feel that wanting to happen. So let's just do it from push to the end. So you can get into push and really hang the elbows. Notice any desire to kind of flop the hands, get the hands open so that they're open to the world. But that idea of sitting the wrists, letting it really drop down and go. Now turn and go. And we've already looked at this part, so you've got more awareness in there too. And stand up. And let's do that a couple more times, just that piece. Go. Noticing any tension across the back of your hands as you go through this. And one more time. Begin. Feeling across your hands, noticing any tension. And close. So, hands, beautiful ladies' hands, three-dimensional hands, actually feeling the palms and not having tension across the backs of the hands.